And I'll call the meeting to order. This is, and read my standard opening statement. This is the Northampton Conservation Commission for the 27th of March, 2025, the first ConsCom meeting of spring. The commission is a group of unpaid volunteers who work to protect the natural environment of Northampton. Specifically, we are concerned with the 8 interests defined in the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act, and our duties also include open space acquisition and management. We operate in a way that's consistent with open meeting law requirements. All meeting dates, times, and agendas are posted in advance, and we invite public comment during our meetings. However, we ask the public to limit any comments to issues that are within our purview. Today's agenda includes a continuation of a notice of intent for a construction of solar arrays over I think of it as a junkyard, the salvage yard at Mount Tom Road. Then a request for determination of applicability to determine if gas main improvements are subject to the Wetlands Act or the City Wetlands Ordinance, this Cedar Street. And then a notice of intent for installation of 400 linear feet of gas main within the riverfront of the Mill River, this out on Mulberry Street. And also we have a request for a certificate of compliance. We have no minutes, so I'll ask if there's any general public comments having to do with the case, other than having to do with the case before us this evening. If not, the first case is that continuation of the NOI for construction of solar panels off Mount Tom Road. And Sarah, you've heard from them that they are requesting a continuation.
Yes, so we would need a motion to continue that until April 24th at 5:30.
So moved.
24th, okay. Motion, and is there a second?
Second.
Second by David. 5:30. If not any further discussion, roll call vote. All in favor, Sarah?
All right, David,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Kevin?
Yes.
All right, unanimous, thank you.
Okay, open meeting law says we can't go to the next case until 5:40, so we've got 6 more minutes, but we can address the request for a certificate of compliance. Is somebody here to address that, or are you just going to summarize it, Sarah?
I don't think they were planning to come, but I did give them a synopsis of what the commission would discuss. So many of you may remember that this was a project to provide access to the former Mill River channel for installation of some monitoring wells and other items related to the ongoing contamination issues from historic contamination. So the work was done as proposed. I didn't have any issues with the restoration, but one unique condition for this one was that the applicant return to the commission and provide a restoration and planting plan for the trees that were removed, since it wasn't known exactly where the trees would be removed or what the final path of access would be, and how many trees would necessitate removal. So due to the constraints of the site and the limited number of trees that were removed, the applicant has suggested making a contribution to the tree mitigation fund rather than doing the restoration on site. So if the commission agrees that's appropriate, we could flag that payment for installation in wetlands or in riverfront. But you could also require that the condition be satisfied as it was initially intended to be.
And if we allow, then you would be in charge of overseeing how many trees and where they go?
Yeah, there's a standard formula that the planning board uses for tree mitigation. It's based on the caliper at breast height. There were only 7 trees removed. They were all pretty small, so it would be a fairly insubstantial payment. But they just thought that would make more sense than trying to figure out where to put the trees on property that they don't own.
Sarah, does that standard formula include anything about it's the tree selection, tree purchase, planting costs? and establishment?
And so the purchase and installation of the trees would be governed by the city for some type of future project. So we don't know exactly where they would go at this point, but if there were an opportunity to plant maybe in a conservation area or in a, a roadway project that includes some riverfront, we could potentially use it for that. And this isn't something that we've done before, but it was something the applicant proposed.
So you determine what the financial contribution would be based on this pre-existing formula that the city routinely uses?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And they would have to tell us exactly how many, the diameter at breast height and what the caliper was, and they didn't provide that in the materials, so we.
Right. They said 7 trees at 1 to 6 inches, I think.
Yeah, they weren't very big.
Right.
Does this mean the city then would be planting more trees than they would have otherwise?
In theory, I mean, if we had a project that included some riverfront and we had this funding available, we could draw on that and plant some additional trees. But we don't have any projects that these would be earmarked for at the onset.
Any other questions or comments by commissioners?
I guess my one other comment is that I recently went to a conference about that included a presentation in Philadelphia, I think, about tree mitigation projects. And they said the biggest thing is that maintenance of the trees afterwards. So I'm assuming that this would just be the city's responsibility, or?
Yeah, I mean, if these were to be installed in a conservation area, we would monitor those. If it was part of some other type of project, then maybe the DPW would do that. It would depend on the details. But yeah, the maintenance of the trees that are planted is always an issue.
It's always an issue.
Sometimes we go out and they're there, but there's baby bittersweets all over them already.
Right, right. Okay, I'm just using this as a learning opportunity as well. Okay, thanks.
Sarah, how often is the tree mitigation fund tapped? I mean, is this something?
I don't know the answer to that. Because we haven't used this for wetlands projects. We haven't we haven't installed anything in conservation areas, but I don't know what it's used for. Otherwise, I could find that out.
Any other comments or questions? Seems a relatively minor. I mean, if there was a clear cut we were requiring be replaced or something, that would be a different matter, but this seems relatively insubstantial, and therefore, sure, we can replicate that same cross-sectional value of trees somewhere else when we think it's a good idea, and especially the fact that Sarah would be overseeing it makes me feel comfortable.
And if this was an area where there was a gap in the forest canopy or there was some other sort of issue, I wouldn't think that this would be appropriate. But it's it's pretty treed. It isn't it's an urban river area, so it seemed like it would make sense here.
Anybody want to make a motion to grant an order of condition?
So we can, I don't think you need to make a motion at this point. I'll just relay that the sense of the meeting at this point was that it would be appropriate to provide that to the tree mitigation fund. And then once they actually make the payment, then we could issue this.
I see. Then we would make a motion in order to accept the payment.
Essentially, yeah. So once it's been made, then the certificate would be issued. I don't want to clear them from their responsibilities before they actually make the payment.
Got it. So is this just for information, or do we actually have to vote some kind of approval or conditional approval?
Just a sense of the meeting is fine at this stage. I suspect they'll probably make the payment pretty quickly, so they'll be coming back. Any issues, concerns?
Anybody want to push back? All right. If not, okay, we can move on to request for a determination of applicability to determine if gas main improvements are subject to the Wetlands Protection Act or the Wood City Wetlands Ordinance. Applicant is Eversource Energy, location at Cedar Street. Who's here to present on that?
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Martin. I'm with SWCA Environmental Consultants. And if
Very
it's
good.
okay with,
Oh, sorry.
Um,
Hi, I'm Anna Huberty. I'm with Eversource.
if it's okay with you, I have a little presentation. Is that go
Sure.
over everything? Okay, sure.
Yeah, we've seen the application, but we always like to hear a summary.
Okay, perfect. I can, it's short, so we can go through it quickly. I know we're on a schedule. I'll just share my screen here. And let me know if you can see that okay.
Yes, it's there.
Okay, perfect. So this is the Cedar Street Gas Main Improvement Project. So the project involves the installation of gas main, both new and replacement, located within the existing roadway layouts of South Street, Cedar Street, Charles Street, Reed Street, Hamden Street, Winthrop Street, Harlow Avenue, and Revel Avenue. It involves the installation of approximately 1,603 linear feet of new installation solely within South Street, and an additional 3,851 linear feet of replacement gas main in the other roadways. The entire project will be installed by the conventional open trench direct burial method. So the resource areas we have on site are the 200 riverfront area to the Mill River and 40-foot buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding. We're outside of other areas, including 100-foot buffer zone, outstanding resource waters, NHESP habitats and floodplains. And the work activities include approximately 225 linear feet of temporary impact to the 200-foot riverfront area within South Street, and about 26 linear feet of temporary impact to the 40-foot buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding, and that's within Cedar Street. And here's the first page of a 2-page map. We can see Mill River pretty far to, I guess, the northeast there. And then the bright red is new installation, and the darker red is the replacement. So we just have a little bit there in the riverfront area. And then here's the second page. And we have the buffer zone to BLSF in that corner of Cedar Street. So best management practices, including inlet protection and mulch stock or straw wattles, will be installed and maintained throughout the length of construction. These will be installed between work and down gradient resource areas. Any existing paved surfaces will be restored to pre-construction conditions, and any reseeding of a maintained shoulder will be done as needed, if needed at all. These will be implemented throughout the length of construction, and an environmental compliance inspector will be on site throughout construction to just ensure the erosion controls are working as they're supposed to. So here are just some photos. This is South Street on the left side of the screen within the 200-foot riverfront area. And then we have Cedar Street looking southeast towards the buffer zone. And here is the Mill River, pretty far to the north of the site. So the project is anticipated to begin this spring. We'll fully comply with the Wetland Protections Bylaw. There's no adverse impacts to adjacent resources, and Eversource is requesting a negative determination. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer what I can, and I can certainly go back to any mapping if you'd like to see those.
Questions from commissioners?
I think the only question I would have would be about the reseeding on the shoulders, Elizabeth.
Sure. It would be an appropriate native upland seed mix, and it might not even be necessary if, it would be if a vehicle or something is parked and the grass is kind of tore up, that would be put down.
How long do you expect the project to take?
They're estimating 150 days, which I think is about 6 months, if I did my math correctly.
Yeah, they want to be done with it by the end of the year, so trying to get out there as quick as they can.
Do you have any preference or feeling about erosion control mulch versus straw?
Are you asking me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. As you said, you do use one or the other?
Yeah, Eversource does not use plastic in their stock. And usually it's straw, but I have seen mulch sometimes. So I think more often than not, it's straw.
Mhm. Yeah. One of the issues with straw is it tends to release a lot of organic matter. It can create an oxygen demand more than most mulch, but it depends on the mulch too, I guess, as well.
Is there a preference the commission has?
Not sure we have any kind of policy on that. Do we? Kevin, do you know?
No, there's no policy. Some we I mean, it's case by case, but we usually like to say um, uh, what's going to support the revegetation in the most optimal way.
My guess is that the straw would break down faster than the mulch, but I don't know of any particular study that I've seen particularly.
Yeah, we
comparing
did a study of that sort for the DOT a number of years ago. And it really depends on the mulch, but straw is pretty much always very quick at releasing organic matter and creating oxygen demands, and that's one of the concerns with straw. It's otherwise performs pretty well.
We could specify straws as the preferred or required, but as the preferred approach.
I was advocating for mulch.
Oh, you were advocating mulch. I see. I misunderstood.
I use straw. You have to specify weed free.
Hmm.
It's
Yes.
difficult to get that.
And there's no way to check it, which is always a challenge.
Right.
Will catch basin socks be utilized?
They'll utilize I forget what they're called, but it's just the inlet protection. They almost look like fabric buckets that go into the catch basin, and then the grate is on top.
And those will be in place for the whole 5 or 6 months of the project?
Yep, and they'll be cleaned out regularly, if they get full, or if they start to fill, they'll be cleaned out. Yeah, weekly inspections will be done by SWCA, and then we report anything that needs attention back to Eversource and the contractor.
So you'll be on site for the length of the project?
Yeah, just weekly though, but yes, like once a week, but
Okay.
yes.
And will all trenching be either backfilled as completed or covered with plates at the end of the workday?
Yes, so typically they try to do about 80 to 100 feet per day and then backfilled at the end of every workday. If for some reason something were to come up where it could not be backfilled, then plated would be covered for safety.
I had one purely curiosity question, doesn't have anything to do with anything within our purview, but I noticed, so there's 8-inch diameter pipe and then 2-inch diameter pipe. So the 8-inch would have 16 times the cross section. Are there bigger pipes elsewhere in the city? I'm unfamiliar with the mechanics of distributing gas.
I do not know if there are bigger
All
pipes
right.
in the
Well, no,
city. I'm sorry.
like I said, it's not within our purview. I was just curious. And I assume that the PVC or the don't have it in front of me, but the plastic is the preferred material for such pipes these days, no longer metal.
Anna, do you care to comment? I believe so, but if you would like
Yeah,
to.
a lot of our replacement projects, that's what we're doing, are going in and replacing the old metal ones with new plastic ones.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Any questions or comments from members of the public? If not, it's an RDA, so we don't need to close a hearing. But someone want to make a motion? Sarah, I don't have your staff report up on screen, so I'm not sure which boxes would get checked. But it's with work within the right of way, and so that it would not be yes, it's within a protected area, but or a jurisdictional area, but would not dredge, fill, or alter. So
I'll make,
It would
I'll
be
make-
the box for the exemption under the WPA and the negative under the local ordinance.
yeah, so I'll make a motion to issue a negative determination checking box 2. That the work in describing the request is within an area subject to jurisdiction, but will not remove, fill, dredge, or alter that area. Therefore, said work does not require filing of a notice of intent. And box 5, area describing the request is subject to jurisdiction under the act, since the work described herein therein meets the requirements of the following exemption as specified in the act and the regulations. No notice of intent is required, and it's 10.022B2I. Installation of underground utilities within existing paved or unpaved roadways, provided all work is conducted within the roadway and all trenches are closed at the completion of each workday. So, and I'd be open to a friendly amendment, David, if you want to add a condition requiring mulch rather than straw, as in the erosion controls.
I don't think that's worth the, no, I don't feel that strongly about it, but I think it's valuable for them to consider the options.
We'll need to do some Conservation Commission trials where we set up some
right.
controls and we have some sample trenches and we measure dissolved oxygen.
Oh, attorneys.
No,
So we
science.
have, I think now that Downey's retired, he's got all this time. He's looking for things to do. There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Sarah, roll call.
David,
Yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, this is an NOI for installation of 400 linear feet of gas main within the riverfront area. This out in Leeds on Mulberry Street. Same parties are here to present on that one. All right,
Yes.
welcome.
Hello.
Again.
I have another presentation, of course. So I will share my screen quickly. Okay.
Yep.
So this is a notice of intent for the Mulberry Street gas main project. This project is located within the existing road right-of-way of the Mulberry Street Bridge as it crosses the Mill River. So the entire project consists of the installation of 400 linear feet of new gas main within the Mulberry Street right-of-way. 337 linear feet of this is to be installed using a horizontal directional drill. 63 linear feet will then be installed with a conventional open trench. And the HDD method does require entry and exit workspaces. And here's our map of the project site. Our resource areas here include the 200 riverfront area, 100-foot buffer zone to bank, 50-foot no disturbance zone, 40-foot buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding. We also have NHESP habitat, which is that orange kind of hashing. And we have 2 perennial streams, Mill River and Roberts Meadow Brook. So work activities include the HDD installation, which will be installed 13 feet below the Mill River bed. It will require 2 entry and exit workspaces, which on this map are those little square white rectangles outlined in black. The northwestern workspace will be 5 feet by 22 feet in size, and the southeast workspace will be 5 feet by 26 feet in size. And this will tie into the existing main located on either side that's also within the road right-of-way. So temporary impacts for this HGD include temporary ground disturbance of 110 square feet within the 100-foot buffer zone to bank, and 285 square feet of impact within the 200-foot riverfront area. And this is for the entry and exit pits that are on this map. So the Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program identified a priority habitat of rare species, PH2084, in the site. We submitted this to NHESP for review, and they determined the project will not result in a prohibited take, excuse me. And we received that response March 17th. So best management practices again. Oh, and here's a picture of the inlet protection that I was trying to explain. But our best management practices are erosion and sediment controls, which consist of either mulch stock or straw wattles, catch basin inlet protection. These will be installed between resources and the work area. BMPs will be maintained throughout the length of construction. The site will be restored to pre-construction conditions, paved surfaces will be restored, and any reseeding which needs to occur will occur with an upland native seed mix. And again, an environmental site inspector will be on site weekly throughout the length of construction. So here are some photos. We have an eastern view, or looking east of Mulberry Street and the bridge crossing. And then in the center here, we have the same image, but looking west. And this will generally be where the one of the enter exit pits will be. And then we have the Mill River as it flows under Mulberry Street. And then a couple more images of the Mill River looking from the bridge upstream and downstream, and then Roberts Meadow Brook at the confluence of the Mill River, and that's facing west, so upstream. So this project is anticipated to begin in the fall of 2025. It will be performed and accessed from the existing roadway layouts of Mulberry Street. The project will fully comply with the Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Eversource is requesting an order of conditions. And again, I can go back to any maps or anything you'd like to see.
Questions from commissioners?
How long is the actual directional drilling taking?
It kind of varies depending on the material that they're drilling through, but they're estimating the entire project be around 3 months, 2 to 3 months, but the drilling doesn't take that long.
Could you tell us about the contingency plan for the directional drilling?
Essentially, it is a plan developed with Eversource just to act as next steps if anything were to occur while utilizing the HDD. So if there was a return of bentonite or anything like that, exactly what steps need to be taken to mitigate anything that could happen, who to contact, when, how quickly we need to contact anybody, alert the commission. It's generally just a plan of kind of a protection plan in case anything were to happen.
I had
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Melissa.
I had a few questions about the minimization of the risks there. In talking about the inadvertent returns, it's primarily bentonite that is the concern, or it's the drilling fluids?
The drilling fluids typically are they're a mix of the bentonite. It's like bentonite clay. It's like a clay material mixed with
Right.
water. So that's the fluid that if there is an inadvertent return, that's what would be what you would see.
Okay. And any thoughts about how likely this is to happen? How often it happens? It depends on what the bedrock is, or?
Yeah, the ground material plays a big role. But usually that's predetermined well in advance if an HGD is even possible. But gosh, in my time, I've seen very few inadvertent returns, and they've been on much larger, longer, projects. So like longer HDDs where there's more space for things to happen. So I don't find it happening very often.
What size pipe?
Oh, you know what? That's a good question. I don't think I wrote that down. Anna, do you know off the top of your head what size pipe?
I don't think I wrote it down either.
I think it's
I could
8
probably
inch.
find it for you.
If I can stop sharing, I can pull it up. I just have it on a different screen and can't access it right now. Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. Sorry. 2 inch.
That's
very
it.
small.
2-inch pipe, what's the diameter of the space into which the pipe is going to be inserted? I mean, how big a drilling aperture is there? I know if it's a 2-inch pipe, then presumably it's a larger
Yeah, it'll
opening.
be, it is a larger opening. I think that's going to be something probably the contractor will decide based on their, expertise and experience. But they don't typically go, it's not going to be a huge gap to fill. It's going to be enough to fit the pipe.
So something like 4-inch maybe.
Maybe, yeah, I don't want to say with certainty. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Where do you get the water for the drilling fluid? Curious.
I do not know. That's a good question. The contractor would probably make that decision as well. They probably have stores of it they bring in.
In cases where you do have like an inadvertent like sort of release of the drilling mud or other drilling fluids, how much like volume is that? Like how much end up being released before some of the mitigation can happen, or the the steps that you've described?
Yeah, of course. Volume, I can't really give an exact number. It's really dependent, but often if there were to be an inadvertent return, you would see it. And then as soon as if you saw it visually, you could immediately stop, but also pressure in the HGD apparatus they use would change dramatically, and they would know and stop that like immediately as soon as pressure changes, because that means something is probably not right. So it's a pretty quick response to when that pressure changes or when there would be an inadvertent return.
I guess along those lines, like the vacuum truck doesn't fully make sense to me, because it feels like the like how when would that come into play? Because it seems like all of your other measures would be sort of the more immediate response that you'd use or you'd need.
You mean like when they would bring in a vacuum truck to remove material?
Yeah, well, what would be like, what's a scenario? What would it be removing, I guess?
I guess if it were in the like still under the ground, they could put a vacuum truck, in like a hole to get under a certain depth to vacuum out material. Yeah.
Okay.
Something they couldn't reach, quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen this before. Sarah, do you know of any lateral or horizontal drilling that has happened in the city within, at least around any resource areas?
The most recent one was Smith College and their geothermal project.
Ah, okay.
I know we've had some for fiber optic cables as well.
Uh-huh.
I had a question about the unexpected geologic features or materials. I'm wondering, you've said that, obviously the feasibility of horizontal drilling is somebody's already reviewed the geology of this area. Is that information that you have, a report from the contractor or something that you could share with the commission? It's just that's sort of the risk assessment. The contingency plan says we will do this if it happens, but I'm assuming that there's some information already there that they have said this is solid bedrock. It's not highly fractured. There's not areas of sediment we're going under. Is that something I'm just wondering where that information is right now.
Right, no, of course, geotech borings are the best way to determine that. And Anna, do you know if that is information you currently have or, is accessible?
I'm not sure. I can ask, but I don't know right now.
Hey,
those
I'm
bo-
gonna jump in. Hi, I'm Jennifer with Eversource. I was just kind of watching to see if they needed some assistance. So the engineers that design the project do the geotech borings, and they have to do them in order to determine whether it's feasible to do HGD. So they have that information. If that's something you wanted us to share with you, we can get that.
So do they do borings on both sides? I'm assuming that they look at the geologic map and they say it's consistent bedrock all the way across, so we don't have to do mid-river test pits.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not greatly concerned because
Yeah. Yeah, and just so you guys know too, so in my time with Eversource, I've been here for about 8 years, and I've worked on maybe 20 to 25 HDDs across the state, and I have not seen an inadvertent return yet, so I will knock on wood, but they are few and far between. Okay.
I had a couple of, well, I was wondering about the 13-foot decision below the riverbed, how that was determined. And I guess it has to do with the geotech borings.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
yeah.
engineers determine that when they do the design and the geotech. So yeah, based on what they're encountering.
Okay, I wasn't sure
Yeah.
how much that was financial versus how much that was geological.
Oh,
My other question, I'm not sure that it's really related, but or relevant to us, but I know that some activities like this can be disruptive to foundations. And so I'm thinking about the structural integrity of the bridge. Every time I drive over it, I think I'm going to fall through one of the holes in it. And also the foundations of the buildings nearby in terms of affecting other structures nearby.
heard that before, but they do have to get an approval with the DPW to do this work as well. So the engineers will be coordinating with them. So if there are any concerns, they will definitely work it out with them.
Yeah, so my question was
Mhm.
how are they going to monitor for it? I know that there's fine canary system monitorings that can be done, measuring earth movement, et cetera, but wasn't sure.
Yeah, I honestly haven't heard that before with HED work. So yeah. But the engineers will definitely be working with the DPW on that.
Other questions from commissioners? Questions or comments from members of the public? If not, someone want to make a motion to close the hearing?
move to close.
Second,
And a second. All in favor? Sarah, roll call?
Roll call, David,
yes.
Mason,
Yes.
Downey,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Kevin?
Yes. So what do you think? Someone want to make a motion to grant an order of conditions?
So moved.
Any special conditions or just standard conditions, Mason?
I would think just standard. I mean, it's in the road. It's under the resource area, so it's seems pretty innocuous to me. And I've seen a lot of horizontal drilling, and it's really high tech now. A guy can walk along with a monitor in his hand and determine how far underneath the ground it is and where it is. So I don't see a problem.
Very good. So there's a motion and a second.
Okay,
And any further discussion? If not, all in favor, roll call. Sarah?
Roll call. David,
yes,
Mason,
Yes,
Downey,
Downey?
Yes, yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Kevin.
Yes.
Right, unanimous.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other business not foreseen when the agenda was put together?
The only other business I have is an update that the Volunteer Agricultural Preservation Restriction is finally moving forward and will be finalized by the end of April. So this is a decade or better in the making and will place a permanent restriction on the entire Volunteer farm on both sides of North Farms Road. And that was this was a little unusual. There's no city contribution that was necessary for this one. Kestrel worked this one out and received the funding to do that. So city will sign as a requirement, but we didn't have to contribute financially to it. So that's
Great.
exciting. This is a substantial farm that's protected.
Nice.
And the volunteers have 4 calves as of yesterday with 3 more moms on the way. And I got to go down and walk one of the calves because that's what I do. That's my day job, is cleaning stalls down there for the calves.
well, that
So
sounds
that's
like a crappy
it-
job.
Yeah.
I hope you took a shower before this meeting.
I very scrupulous hand hygiene with the bird feed.
And that's a promotion from managing adolescents in classrooms?
It's the calves are really cute. They're really cute. So we had 2 bottle babies last spring, and it looks like we're one of the twins I'm going to be bottle feeding for the rest of the year. So it keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Great. Well, you'll have to post some pictures for us. My daughter was just here for a few days. When she got back, she lives out in Portland, Oregon. She was also a high school teacher out there. But she has in her half acre has sheep, goats, ducks, and many other animals. And there was some baby goats just newly born that she sent us pictures of. So, but all right. Anything else before we close? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, everyone.
Do we need a motion to close, Sarah, or can we just say goodbye?
We can say goodbye.
Okay.
Take care all.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. See you in a couple of weeks.